Welcome to Bandit's Keep. I'm Daniel. In this video, we're going to talk about the concept of your group not wanting to play any other games but the one they're playing, and how to address it, really. This is something I see a lot online in forums. Usually somebody's lamenting the fact that, they're in a group for Traveler or something, and they're like, oh, I would love to play Traveler, but my group only likes to play Call of Cthulhu, or 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons if they're in an OSE group or this kind of thing. And I guess maybe I've been lucky in the sense that when I first got back into role-playing, I was playing 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. But over time, I've expanded out and I've played all kinds of games, from sci-fi to high fantasy, low fantasy, different types of system, free league. Now I play a lot of kind of older games and some homebrew stuff and what might be called indie games primarily. But my groups that I play with, for the most part anyways, are pretty okay with trying different things. So maybe I've just been lucky, or maybe it's my approach. So I thought I would just talk about this a little bit and see where we go. So the first thing I guess we need to look at is, why do you want to play a different system? Now, I'm assuming that most people posting in these groups are game masters and they are suggesting that they'll run the game. If you are a player and you want to run something and your game master doesn't want to learn a new system to run for you, well, then the simple solution there is to just run it yourself, right? I mean, give them a step away to try something different and run something extra. But assuming that you are a game master in this situation, what I would think is, why do you want to run it? Is it because you want to try a different setting or style or genre? Is it because you want to learn new rule sets? You like learning new rule sets? Or is it because something in the current rule set that you have doesn't work for you? Maybe you're bored with it, or you're just not liking it. Now, the more you play, which is what happened to me, and I thought, well, I don't really like this in the system. And of course, you could house rule it, but how much house ruling do you need to do? And we'll talk about that a little bit too. But, so that's kind of your motivation. So why? Why do you want to do it? And then we have to look at it as, why don't they? Maybe they only like the genre that you're playing in. Maybe they really like the system. It's not boring them and they find it very exciting. Maybe they don't want to learn new systems. So any of these reasons kind of combined with why you want to learn it will help you kind of formulate a plan to get them to try. So the first thing to say, and this is the universal thing, is that excitement is contagious. Instead of getting super excited about a game by reading it at your house by yourself and talking to people that don't play it, let's say, or somebody online that you're never going to play with, and then suddenly showing up with your group and saying, hey, I want to run a 6-month campaign in Traveler, little by little, as you're reading it, every week when you meet them at the game, or in Discord messages that you're talking to people, be like, oh, I've been reading Traveler. I really like this about it. I like that about it. And what you'll find is that your group might have some questions or things that they believe or that they don't like. And they'll actually say it then, and you can address it little by little instead of facing a wall of it. So you're talking about Traveler. Oh, I've been reading Traveler. The rules for traveling through space are so interesting. I like how that they're more hard sci-fi. Oh, yeah, but isn't it boring to spend 5 weeks in hyperspace? Well, you can just hand wave that time period if nothing exciting is going on. So it's literally just 5 seconds at the table and then we're to the adventure. You can start talking about that and having a conversation about it before you're actually making the pitch. Be excited. Wow, I read this this system. It's a Bronze Age. I love the idea of using Bronze Age and desert travel and using camels instead of, heavy armor and the fantasy we've been running. Djinn and, all kinds of cool stuff like that versus dragons, right? Not that you can have dragons in the desert, and start getting them excited about it. Some of your group at least will get excited, and then that will be contagious. This way you're already moving in that direction. You're not just dropping it on their lap. And so far as learning a system or mechanics, I think that you will always be taking the burden of most of that on you as the GM. So this is where the power of the one shot comes in, where you make pre-generated characters and you create an adventure that really showcases what you love about this system, or you think you love. Use the stuff that don't do something boring and then build up oh, I'll save that for the end of the campaign. Run something mid to high end maybe, so that they can see, oh, wow, we can end up with battle armor and this and that. And they'll see that can be really fun and exciting. It's part of the game that they might like. And then the other parts will fall into place as well. Don't run something that's very basic. What I mostly see when I see new early adventures for games, they're terrible. Starter adventures are usually the worst. So learn the system as best as you can and try to run something epic and exciting and big, kind of the ideal game for that system. And one of two things will happen. Either they'll really like it, hopefully, really not like it. Or maybe you'll get it out of your system. I can't tell you the number of times I've read a game system, thought in my head it would be awesome for a long campaign, ran a one-shot, and we really enjoyed it. But then I was like, yeah, that was cool. Let's move on to something else. So it's not like you need to set everybody up for a long campaign. The idea of a one-shot or just getting together for 1 or 2 sessions to try something is great. Do it in between campaigns. Do it when somebody can't make it. You've got a group of 4 or 5 players in a long-running campaign. Have in your back pocket a one-shot for this other system you like. So when one of the players isn't there, you don't necessarily have to cancel that week. You can be like, oh, you know what? I'll run this other system. I've had a ton of luck with that. I was very much into running Swords and Wizardry, which I really like. It's a original Dungeons & Dragons hack. And I always had one-shots basically in my DM kit while I was running 5th edition. And then if anybody couldn't show up and we couldn't move forward, I mean, a lot of times we'd play even if somebody wasn't there, but if we were in a place where we couldn't, I would just bust it up and be like, here's a character. Who wants to play the cleric? Who wants to play whatever? People will take them, they'll play, they have fun. Then 6 months later, when I was like, oh, we're wrapping up this campaign. How do you guys think about running maybe a short Swords and Wizardry campaign? They're like, oh, yeah, that's that game that we play in the one-shots, right? Yeah, let's try that. Boom. This is basically how we do it. We're kind of feeding it little by little. We're not saying run a 2-year campaign. We're saying do a one-shot. Try this. See how this is. Now, as far as genre is concerned, one thing we can do here without even trying the new system is start to incorporate some of those genre conventions into our current game. So you want to play a Bronze Age game maybe in the future and see what that'll play out like. So you create a section of your world that's desert and bronze, and maybe there's a reason why. There's some, I don't know, a run of rust monsters or something, so people don't use iron weapons and stuff. But the players might get there with their equipment and want to keep using it, or you can just basically set it up so that they'll want to blend in. You know, oh, well, you're walking around in plate mail armor and everybody's staring at you because they're all wearing whatever they're wearing, bronze chain or whatever, and get them to want to get into it, buy into it, see the system. I think that a lot of players will want to fit in when they go to places. So that's pretty cool. Or you can, you know, just make some cool items available ahead of time, like maybe a magical suit of bronze chainmail. So when they get there, they're already wearing bronze chainmail, right? Something like that. So you can basically start to add these genre conventions into your current campaign to see how people like them. Because then again, they're like, oh, you know, I love using scimitars and bronze armor and gold fleshes, and I'm probably not saying that right. You know, and they like that, and riding camels and doing desert exploration. Wow, that was really fun when we did that. So then when you're winding down the other campaign, or you want to do a one shot, you're like, oh, you know what? I have blood and bronze here, which is a pretty cool light system. Let's try this. Yeah, we'll give it a shot. We liked the bronze stuff before. And this way you're already getting them in that direction. Now, this is going to be fine for that. You can also go really far with it. You look at something like sci-fi. You want to add some sci-fi convention to your game? Have them find an underground complex that is some ancient, science fiction thing, and add some robots and stuff and see how your players like it. See how they like that clash. Give them a laser gun they can use for a little bit. See how they like it. Once they know that it's like, oh, wow, I thought I would really only like high fantasy, but I kind of loved when my character had this laser pistol. Now they're primed to possibly play Traveler. One thing I wouldn't do, as I'm saying, add some of the genre conventions to your current campaign to get players to feel it. What I wouldn't do is take a game, let's say, I'm talking about Blood and Bronze now, and say, you know what? The players really love D&D and high fantasy, and I want them to play this game, so I'm just going to add dragons and elves and these things to this game. That way it'll feel right and they'll want to play it. Now you're kind of killing the whole reason for playing the different system, and you're also setting it up so that it's not probably going to play as well as it should, and they're probably not going to like it. So I wouldn't add your old games conventions to the new game, but I would add the new games conventions to your old game, if that makes sense. Also, I'm getting ready to go to Gen Con, so this stuck in my mind here that playing at conventions or running at conventions is a great way to try new games. If you think you might like a Bronze Age game, play in one at a convention, see how you like it, even though you primarily GM, right? And then you can come back again with great stories. Oh, the convention game was really cool. We did this and we fought a djinn and this and that. Contagious, right? We want to show excitement. We want to bring our excitement to our players so they can be excited. We're not trying to trick them. What we're doing is we're showing actual excitement of something that we love. And when your friends see that you love something, they're probably going to be more apt to want to try it. And finally, worst case scenario, I guess I'll call it, there's lots of online groups and meetups and things. Expand your world, right? If you want to play an old school D&D game and your whole group really loves the 5th edition campaign that you're in the middle of and they don't want to switch or they don't want to play it at the end, and you try some of these other things that are not working, well, find a group online on Roll20 or on a Facebook group that wants to play and play online to start with. Because again, you'll get to be able to play it and see if you like it. And as you talk to your friends about this other campaign you're running, in online, they might actually start thinking, oh, wow, okay, that sounds like a really cool story you're telling me. Maybe I do want to try it. So this works on so many levels. You meet new people from all over the world usually, and you get to play all kinds of games. So I recommend, even though, if I had to choose one or the other, I would choose to play in person over online for sure. But playing online opens up so many options for you. There's really almost no reason to not be able to play a system you want to play if you're willing to play online. And that is how I originally got into playing some of these old school games. I was reading them. I was excited about it. I was telling my players about it, but I wasn't trying to change the campaign. And then I played a bunch online and I kept telling them about it and telling them about it. And then I ran some one-shots in between things as I felt comfortable. And then now we primarily play. Right now, my current group that we started off playing 5th edition campaign 5 years ago or something, we're in the middle of an original Dungeons & Dragons campaign. So you can get your friends to try new things. You just have to approach it in a manner that isn't just suddenly like out of the blue, like, oh, hey, I have this game, let's just play it. I've never mentioned it before, and you should just jump in and learn 50 pages of rules. Make it easy for them, and they will almost certainly give it a shot. So I would love to know your success or not success stories here on getting people to try different games. What are some of the games that you discovered by other people suggesting them where you didn't actually think that you would like it, but then once you played it, you were like, oh, this is great. I would love to know that in the comments below. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you get notifications, and I'll see you next time.